A mother, a sister, a daughter or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life. A mother, a sister, a daughter or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And we ask Allah to send His mercy and blessings on Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And of course we ask Allah to guide us, to strengthen us, to keep us on the straight path, to grant us the knowledge and the wisdom that we need to be good Muslims and good people. And of course we ask Allah to accept our good deeds, forgive us our sins, and accept us into Jannah, inshallah. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to the first episode of Huda TV's special program, Woniens Issues. I'm your host, Vanessa Robbie, and I'm delighted to be with you in this series, where we're going to be taking a look at a lot of the issues that women unfortunately face and have been facing for many centuries. And we're going to be looking at the beauty, the importance, the status that women have in the sight of Allah. And of course, we will always be referring to the true source, the Quran and the Sunnah, so that we can educate ourselves to know what is the right way to treat women in society. And we can't do this without looking at the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He was the best role model for all time, and he was the best to his wives, to his daughters, and to women in general, all women in general, both Muslims and non-Muslim women. So, and actually he said a very good final statement to the men out there. And he said, the best of you, meaning men, the best of you are those who are best to their wives, to their families, to their mothers, their daughters, their sisters. And this is a very powerful statement. It shows the importance, the status that women do have in society and in Islam. So throughout the program, throughout the series, we're also going to be having a look at a lot of the misconceptions that are out there in regards to Islam. And these misconceptions don't only come from non-Muslims, but they also come from Muslim women. Unfortunately, we see it quite often where women are not educated, or they've been influenced by the cultural society, and they're away from the deen, they're questioning their religion, which is something very sad. So throughout this program, we hope to educate non-Muslims and also, especially our Muslim sisters and brothers. We're going to have a look at a clip today. We're going to go back because we need to look at the past. How were women in the past treated prior to Islam, so that we can compare and see what did Islam bring to liberate women. So we're going to be having a look back to Roman times and also up until pre-Islamic times, the different eras. You know, women have suffered a lot throughout the ages. So we're going to have a look now.
Before the advent of Islam, there were many historical civilizations that many of us today are inspired by, whether via movies, audiobooks, fairy tales, or even mythological creeds. But we were never informed of their defaults in society. They would only bring muscle-bound heroes or invasions, yet never did they portray their realistic treatments with their mothers, wives, daughters, and so on. Socially speaking, we were never shown the true ideological identification of women. Now, in ancient Roman history, did you know that if you have 3 or 4 daughters, they would be named the same, but with an additional number to identify which one? Now, that may not have been the worst of all their abnormal treatment to women. However, it did lead to many civil defaults, such as historically differentiating them in marriage or inheritance, which caused many obstacles to women and demeaned them. Not to mention, they were abstained from voting, which may not seem surprising due to the fact that they were considered as lower class citizens. even amidst their royal and wealthy families. They were subjected and heavily compliant to their unjustly tradition. Now, although in comparison to ancient Rome, ancient Egypt did honor women, but overburdened them by sharing portions of their properties to their husbands. If they were unable to conceive, they would be considered less fortunate and impure to even enter their temples. Their entire honorary traits were established upon their beliefs. It gave them near equal rights and honored them in making a lot of household decisions and to take loans as well. Yet should there be a lack of male control, she would then be subjected to suspicious acts. There would be partial injustice, if not moderate. Now, before the advent of Islam, in pre-Islamic Arabia, women had no legal rights whatsoever. Their fathers sold them in markets. Their husbands could terminate their marriage contracts at will, at any time, without any liabilities nor care. Unless they were from a rich or powerful family, they were prohibited from any succession rights and inheritance. They had little or no properties. They were treated harshly and cautioned violently from giving birth to females. They were socially and psychologically tortured. But then, by the grace of Allah, the world was blessed and honored with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Well, we can see from that clip that, as I said, women have been suffering for centuries, that they haven't been given their rights, that they have been oppressed. We saw in the Roman times how women were given a number to be identified with. That wasn't the case for brothers. Brothers had their own name without numbers, but clearly women weren't important enough and they were just given numbers. And as we also saw, that they didn't have a right to vote. And that continued even in Western societies. We saw the suffragette movement in the US and in the UK, where women were going on hunger strikes. They were protesting in order to get their right to vote. So that has continued. That continued up until the early 20th century. And looking at the ancient Egyptians, yes, the women were a lot more prized in that era. They had a greater status, but still it wasn't that just. It was very unusual for any woman to hold a high position. Throughout the thousands of years of history, there was only a handful of women who were actually pharaohs or held the highest positions in the land, because it wasn't acceptable. They didn't want women to be in power. And if they weren't able to have children, they were almost cast aside, that they weren't worthy. Where in Islam, we know that everything is by the decree of Allah. And if Allah wills it, that is the best for us. And then moving on to pre-Islam Arabia, I mean, I'm actually lost for words as to how they treated their women, selling them off in the market for marriage like cattle. They didn't have any rights. And there was also a tradition of burying their daughters alive because they were seen as nothing. They didn't want daughters. This just leaves me speechless. And then, of course, came Islam. Islam came freeing women, liberating women, giving us our due rights. Everything that, as I said, everything is by the decree of Allah, and Allah is just. Allah has given rights to men and to women in equal measure. And in the eyes of Allah, both men and women are equal. The only difference is in piety. That's what we're being judged on. We're not being judged about whether we're black, white, yellow, red, fat, thin, short, what language we speak, or whether we're male or female. We're being judged on our religion, on how we are implementing, how we are following Allah's orders and His instructions for us to be good Muslims. This is what He wants. And unfortunately, we do see a lot of oppression still today. We can't deny it. We have to address it. We do see women being oppressed, not being treated fairly. And this comes from a lack of knowledge. But that's not the religion. That is not Islam. This is humans not understanding, not learning, not knowing what Allah has instructed us to do in order to be good Muslims. So there's a lot of things that we're going to be addressing throughout the series, and we need to address these in order to be better people. We're also going to have another look at another clip. So let's take a look now.
Mother, a sister, a daughter, or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life. A mother, a sister, a daughter, or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life. A sister, a daughter, or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life. A mother, a sister, a daughter, or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life. A sister, a daughter, or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life. A mother, a sister, a daughter, or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life.
Well, brothers and sisters, it's time to have a short break. So please stay tuned, because after the break we have a very special guest who I'm delighted to be speaking with today, who is Dr. Haifa Yunus. So stay tuned until after the break. Assalamu alaikum.
A mother, a sister, a daughter, or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life. A mother, a sister, a daughter, or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life.
And welcome back, dear viewers. It's my honor to introduce our special guest for today, who is Dr. Haifa Yunus, who loves to be known as the Servant of Allah. She is also the founder of the Jannah Institute in the USA. And we'd like to welcome Dr. Haifa. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Vanessa. It's a pleasure being with you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I know it's very early in the US, so we do appreciate. Thank you very much for being with us.
Sure,
Giving up your sleep.
It's not too early. It's 6 a.m. in the morning. It's okay.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Not too bad.
Dr. Haifa, we saw in the clips previously about how women were treated prior to Islam. So can you give us some comments about that, about women in the past?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. And it is a good point to start, because a lot of the issues with Islam now, people, when we say Islam came to liberate women, Islam came to give the woman its right, people, some of them is having a hard time looking at this. And I say, unless you know what was before, then you know what happened after.
Yeah.
So when the woman, I mean, I didn't see the clip, but I'm assuming it's probably going to cover the same. When the woman was looked at as part of the inheritance. So the man inherit like these days, you inherit the car, you inherit the furniture, you inherit a bank account, and you inherit the woman.
Mm-hmm.
So this by itself to me is enough that it tells me and should tell our viewers that the woman was looked at as similar to a piece of furniture,
Yes.
not a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the difference between human being and everything else is respect. That means she has rights. That means she has a brain. That means she has feelings. And that means she can give as she can take. This was not the issue whatsoever.
Yes.
It's a property. And I honestly, every time I read about this, it's so hard for me to even imagine, let alone think of it, let alone, I don't know how the woman lived it,
Yes.
to be a property of someone.
Yeah.
So absolutely, that's where Islam came in and changed it all completely.
Yes. So following on from that, what did Islam do? What did Islam bring to liberate women, to change
I
all
think
of this?
that the first thing Islam came and did to the woman in general is identify her as a human being.
Yeah.
Is not a property. Look at her as she is. The only difference, she is like a man, meaning this. Look at them from the same start, from the same platform. And then there is two different roles. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you look at the Quran, and I always say this, is anytime you want to learn about Islam, look at the two basic sources. So go and look at the Quran. What did the Quran say about women? And what Rasul said, taught, and practiced. This is how we learn. We don't judge, and I say this all the time in the West. Don't judge Islam by the people you see. Judge Islam by the Islam itself. Judge it by the religion itself. So it came and look at the Quran, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for example, I'm just quoting an ayah and I'll translate, إِنَّ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَالْمُسْلِمَاتِ وَالْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. Verily, the believing, the Muslim men, the Muslim woman, the believing men, the believing woman, and Allah continued in this, وَالْقَانِتِينَ وَالْقَانِتَاتِ, all these, and then what is the end? Those who remember Allah plenty, she and he, and both. أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةً وَأَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. Allah prepared for them both. مغفرة, forgiveness, أجرًا عظيما, great reward. Here I am, that's my first thing, as a human being, that Allah put me on this earth. And this is for man and a woman, it's a human being. I'm looking at my end and I'm looking at my life. At my end, in front of my Creator. And I am going there, I am, inshallah, all of us in paradise.
Inshallah.
Am I going to be looked at and judged the same? Or I'm going to be looked at, oh, she's a woman, wait.
No.
And that's what Allah said. Absolutely. There is no, and I can challenge anyone to come and tell me, in the Quran, a verse said, in front of Allah, I'm going to be looked at differently. If anything, yeah, I was given, and I'm not talking about I, me, I'm saying as a woman, there is things in the Quran gave the woman more virtues, and there is more women mentioned in the Quran other than the prophets, as mother, pregnancy, breastfeeding, delivery, in case of Sayyidah Maryam, all these were mentioned. I think we need to come, when we read the Quran, man or a woman, Muslim or non-Muslim, look at it with, as you start, from a different start.
Yeah.
Don't look at Islam as Islam is not fair to women. Let me go and look in the Quran. Where is it? No. You come and start with this start. Islam came to give the woman their Allah's given right that it was not there.
Yes.
But He gave them different roles.
Yes. That's
And
a
I
beautiful
always
answer,
say-
Doctor. It's a very beautiful answer. And so, in regards to feminism, you know, because we talk a lot about women's rights, it's a hot topic. It has been for many
Yes.
years. So, where does that fit into Islam? Is there a role? Is there room for feminism in Islam?
Well, again, Vanessa, it depends. What do you mean by feminism? I think this word needs by itself is like when someone tell me, are you with the feminism movement? I don't say yes or no. I say, what do you mean?
Yeah.
If you're looking at women's rights, then I'm going to say, did Islam give the woman their rights? We just answered it. Is there now we are living in a day and time that there is places in the world, even at homes or in the workforce, or that women are not treated the same as a human being? Yeah, of course. But this is the feminism, if it means the woman has to do exactly the same as the man does, then this needs to change. Because Allah did not create me and you to do exactly the same as the man does. Or Allah did not create the man to do exactly the same as the woman. We have two different roles, but we are the same.
Yes.
It's like, look at it in my profession, I'm an OBGYN, right? I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist. So I am an OBGYN and there is a surgeon man, right? We are both physicians.
Yes.
But he has a role and I have a role. It doesn't mean he's better and I am better. No. That's exactly how we should look at it, from that lens.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to look at it. And of course, we always, as you said, we always have to go back to the source, to the Quran and the Sunnah. And of course, our best role model is Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So can you just share with our viewers, how did our Prophet, our beloved Prophet, treat his women, the women in his life, his wives, his daughters, and women in general, both Muslim and non-Muslim women at the time?
I'll tell you, there is two stories. I mean, his seerah, alayhi salatu wasalam, has plenty. It's full of stories after stories after stories, right?
Yes.
But let's come, as we always say, start with home, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at him, and I want my viewers and your viewers and everybody listening to give their heart to this story. And imagine this story. And a man in this day and age, when he's in public and he is the prophet, and everybody looks up to him, and a question came to him from a man, and the question was, who is the most beloved person to you? Right? Man ahabbu nasi ilayk. Who's the most beloved person to you? And then he said, Aisha, a woman. And of course, the man, if you read the commentary on this hadith, is very beautiful, because the Sahabi, the companion who asked, he was actually looking for his name. So when the name of the woman came in, he said, and I'm just adding. So I was like, he was trying to find a way that he gets a man's name. And then he said, وَمِنَ الرِّجَالِ. Okay, what about from the men? Look at the answer of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. He said, Abiha, her father. Although her father is Sayyidina Abu Bakr, his best friend. What does that teaches you? What does that teaches you? What is he teaching the ummah? What is he teaching the companions around him 1450 years ago? Right?
Yes.
And then gave all the women their due right, even with the most beloved woman, Sayyidah Aisha, who he married her after Sayyidah Khadija passed away. He still loved Sayyidah Khadija and had a special place in his heart. To the point he used to, there is a friend of Sayyidah Khadija who used to come and visit him afterward. And he used to treat her so well that Sayyidah Aisha used to say, I felt jealous from Khadija, although she passed away. And she said this to Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, and the meaning of it is like, don't hurt me with Khadija. And then he started talking about what she did for him. He is the face of Islam, the right face of Islam.
Yes.
And that's how he is. That's how he looked at the woman. That's how he treated women, mothers, daughters, Fatima. What did he say about Sayyidah Fatima, his daughter? She said, look at that, I love this saying. And I hope all fathers look at this. He used to say, Fatima, part of me, juz'un minni, he's part of me. That's his daughter.
Yeah, beautiful.
Subhanallah. So absolutely.
I think it's very important that we always do go back and see, to learn, to educate ourselves about how he did treat the women, so that we can make sure that our women in society are treated with the respect and the status that they are, should be given. Very important.
Right, absolutely. I mean, he used to eat with her. He used to put the Sayyidah Aisha, because she was the one. The reason we know a lot from Sayyidah Aisha, because she was the scholar among his wives, and she was the one who narrated a lot of the hadith. Then one of the other incidents, he used to feed her, put the morsel or put the bite in her food, and she put in his mouth, and she put in his mouth. They drink from the same cup, and she used to say the last thing when he died, alayhi salatu wasalam, on her shoulder, in her house. Right? He didn't die with the men around him, and he said, like, no, let the woman don't come, the woman shouldn't come. Subhanallah.
Subhanallah.
So we really need to go back to the source, and I highly encourage men and women who are listening to us, is don't, as we say it, don't judge the book by the cover.
Yes.
Read the book. So don't judge Islam by what men does or woman does or they say. Go to the source. And I highly recommend, there is a beautiful book of Imam Ibn al-Qayyim. It's called Zadul Mi'ad fi Hadi Khayr al-Ibad. And it's translated very well. Beautiful. And in that book, there's Hadiyahu fi bayti. What did he do? What's his sunnah? What's his way in his home? Meaning with his family. He helped them in the house.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful teachings, and I couldn't agree more with what you've said. It's just perfect the way that you have illustrated how he treated his women and his just overall, personality and behaviour. And Dr. Haifa, there's a lot of talk about women being oppressed in Islam, that we aren't given our rights. So what would you say to those people who attack Islam for that particular reason?
Okay. Are there women these days, this day and age, are oppressed? Absolutely. Are there places or homes where woman is looked at as if she has no right, no brain to think? Absolutely. Absolutely. But this is not Islam.
Yeah.
This is where we have to differentiate. I mean, as we were talking before the show, Vanessa, of course, before COVID-19, I used to travel. I traveled all over the world. You name it, I've been there, including Australia. We were talking about it, and London, and Africa. And I have seen things, it really breaks your heart.
Yes.
It does, where the woman absolutely does everything in the house and she has no right. But that's not Islam. So we really have to differentiate. When I say Islam, I mean the teaching, I mean what Allah said, I mean what Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam said. When I say culture, then I will say culture, this is how we raised up, this is how they did in my country or that country. So I wouldn't say Islam came, wal-iyadu billah, to degrade women at all. Islam was the religion came to give women rights in inheritance. She did not inherit. The Islam came and gave the woman the right to be a witness. Rights to speak. In the time of Sayyidina Umar, a woman took a position. At the time of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, she fought next to him. It's just what is happening or what we see in our homes. And I am going to say this to all my viewers, both men and women. The man needs to learn and the woman needs to learn.
Yes, I agree.
The woman needs to, absolutely, the woman needs to learn that this is her right. This is what Allah gave her. This is not her right. This is not what Allah gave her or not what Allah expects from her. And the man, the same thing. He needs to know Allah will ask him about these things. How did you treat your wife? How did you treat your daughters? I mean, imagine in his last sermon, alayhi salatu wasalam, and we are getting close to the season of Hajj. What did he say? And he knew when he said, this is probably my last time with you. Right? What did he say in that? He said, خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِ وَأَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِ. The best among you are the best to their family. And أهله indeed is usually his wife. And I am the best to my wives. What message he's leaving to his ummah.
Yes.
استوصوا بالنساء خيرا. That's another message where he says, take care of the women, treat them well.
Yes.
That's his message. Unfortunately, and this is not only, by the way, in the women issues in Islam, there is a lot of issues we need to learn. And this is actually one of the things that made me, although I am a physician and did my training and I'm practicing, but I really wanted to study it the same way. And I used to tell the people when they tell me, why did you left the state to go and study Islamic studies? I said, I want to study it the same way I studied medicine. I want to study it properly.
Yes.
I want to learn it. When you learn, it's an eye-opener, Vanessa. Eye-opener. So don't judge about what people do or say. Go to the source. There is different opinions, yes, but the source is the same.
Yes.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. It's a very, very important point. Something that people do need to understand, that culture and other influences play a big role, that it's not the religion. There is a big separation. So, yeah. So
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hafer. It's been an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for all your beautiful answers, and may Allah reward you and keep you on your journey of giving dawah to the whole world, and for all the work that you do for women. We truly appreciate it. Thank you so much. And inshallah, hopefully we can have you on the program again, inshallah.
It's my pleasure. Jazakumullahu khairan. It's a pleasure. And may Allah reward everyone. And may Allah use more Huda TV to spread His knowledge. And I ask all the viewers to make dua for me, for my family, and for the Jannah Institute, that the institute we have to teach women their religion and to equip the women with the knowledge they need about Islam and to practice it in this world. Ya Rabbi, Ameen.
Inshallah, Ameen. Inshallah, Ameen. Thank you, Dr. Hafer. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Bye-bye. Assalamu alaikum. Well, brothers and sisters, that was a beautiful discussion. It was an honor for me to be talking to Dr. Hafer. And unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program, but what a way to end the program. And we ask Allah to bless us all, to guide us all, to give us the knowledge and the understanding that we need in order to give each other our due rights according to Allah. And we ask Allah to honor those who honor their wives, their sisters, their aunts, their daughters, that they continue to be good role models and in search of Allah's blessings and mercy. So until we meet again, brothers and sisters, I wish you all the best. Please stay safe and always remember Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
A mother, a sister, a daughter, or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life. A mother, a sister, a daughter, or a wife, Islam gave her all her rights in her life. Islam gave her all her rights in her life.